Today I'm going to talk about discipline and how to make it so easy it's unavoidable pretty much. For starters, I think most people have discipline wrong. And that's not really putting any fault on you. It's just really what you've been told is probably wrong. You see, discipline doesn't have to be something that's nasty, hard to do, or overall something that you don't like doing, It doesn't always have to be that way. Even though the definition is quite uninviting, which is literally forcing yourself to do a certain thing habitually, that still doesn't mean that it has to be hard on you. It doesn't mean that you have to not enjoy it, because I most certainly found a way to make discipline fun for me, whilst also simultaneously growing and doing things that ultimately contributed to my self-development. And having this kind of mindset that I'm going to talk about has enabled me to never feel like I'm doing nothing. It's enabled me to never hit the rock bottom that I pretty much used to be in not too long ago, maybe 3 years ago. And I want to be able to help you. I want you to be able to achieve the same thing that I achieved with this mindset. So let's just get straight into it. But for starters, I want to talk about my status quo, which is no short story, but I'll try summarizing it here. I didn't know what discipline was. I thought it was all about making it hard, doing hard things, and ultimately that drove me to a very pessimistic path. I used to play for hours on end before that, and I had a completely different understanding of what discipline actually was. You see, not even too long ago, I didn't even know what discipline was. And this was probably around 2023, early 2024 that I'm talking about. And I come from a background where discipline was very emphasized. In fact, my primary school had held some pretty tight standards that you had to keep. And I was never fit into that, And as a result, I was always getting excluded. I was always getting looked down, and to the point I was even humiliated by my own teachers. And some people might actually view this in the lens of discipline. I'm being disciplined right now. In some way I am, but the reason why it didn't work is because it was so fucking hard. It was made so freaking painful that it just never stuck with me. In fact, I had sub 20% performance on tests, and that scarred me for the rest of my high school trajectory, actually. But in the second half of the year, when I was introduced to topics that I was then obsessed with, I actually made it fun for myself. And I won't say exactly the same thing happened in 2024, but something similar happened where I had to do research papers for biology, physics, and whatnot. And obviously, these were actual like long pieces of homework that were supposed to extend at least 6 to 8 pages long. That really depended on the teacher. And when I started doing them, I started challenging myself to do them alone because everyone would do them together and things like that. And things then got easier. It was like, I'm doing all this, I'm doing like 8 pages just to get a pretty decent grade. I might as well give it my all, which is not that much more, and get the maximum grade possible. So let's actually talk about how to make discipline so fun, so easy, it's completely unavoidable, okay? The first step is to realize that you have to make it fun, all right? If it wasn't clear from the story I made, discipline can't be something that is hard, something that punishes you with no rewards, really. And that's what a lot of gurus make out to be, that rewards will come on their own or rewards will come later and the pain comes now. That doesn't necessarily have to be the case. You can, maybe something that you don't really like doing is going to the gym, but you try and make it fun by either socializing with people or trying to see how many reps you can rep out a light weight. You have to find your way around it. Remember, it doesn't have to be a pessimistic path where it's just like feeling like you don't really do any process. It can be fun. It can be somewhere where you literally grow. And the thing you need to understand is that by making it fun, it's going to stick to you. You know, if something is not fun, you're most likely going to divert to another task or do something else and move on, and you're not going to come back. Things stick a lot better when those things are fun. So why not make it fun? If it's going to be hard, then it just won't stick with you that much. In fact, your brain is most likely to give you a negative feedback system where it's like, well, this activity was not pleasurable, was not enjoyable, didn't give me any rewards. So we're going to put some effort into this so that it never happens again, so that we never repeat this process. Or maybe that you redo the process in another way. It's literally how your brain works. And part of making it fun is also making discipline a game. And it's kind of stupid thinking like, oh, well, everyone says gamify your life and da. But really, gamifying your life, it's not that hard. You don't need a Notion template. What discipline and video games have in common is that there is a progress bar. Eventually, in games, you have to actually do progress. You have to gain XP to eventually level up and beat the next boss, or maybe get better gear. And in discipline, it's exactly the same thing. Let's take studying, for example. The more you study for an exam, the more XP you gain, and the more prepared you are to beat a certain boss of the game. Every piece of homework that you do, every research paper, and every hour you study can be a little rank up, and every test you pass can be a sort of prestige you pass, or another, let's say, volume of the game, who knows. And this is something you have to make out for yourself. Things like the gym is so easy because every time you up the weight or up one rep, it's just like a rank up. But the best way you can gamify life, and this is pretty much actionable for every single thing that you want to gamify, let's say, is to identify a reasonable deadline, knowing the things you have to do from point A to point B, breaking down those tasks and scheduling days to do those tasks, and work every day. You have to work every day on this specific task or area of your life, even if it's just 10 minutes a day, until you're ready to submit that paper, to upload that YouTube video, or release that newspaper. And that's exactly the system I used to get maximum grades on my research papers. I eventually found out that I have a lot more time. This is not so hard, but this is exactly what I did for studying, and it's helped me massively. And I would suggest everyone does it too. I do this with YouTube too, where I schedule 4 days in a week towards this video. One day's for research, 1 day's for scripting, 1 day's for recording the video and editing it and making a thumbnail. And the last day is making some final tunes here and there and then uploading the video. That's pretty much it. Maybe that's on the 5th day, actually, sorry, but that's okay. And from stemming from the idea of making discipline a game, you also have to make sure you have a goal in mind, a purpose in mind, and that you're kind of reaching a sort of brain hypertrophy, a neurotrophy, if you will. And goal setting becomes, especially in school for me, it became an extremely powerful tool. And this is exactly what helped me replace gaming with other activities like learning, reading, coding, and whatnot. I immediately started, and this also has to do with splitting tasks on certain days. I immediately, as soon as I started achieving goals and ticking off the things I had to do, and I got closer to a certain goal setting and slowly making those goals a bit harder than last time keep you active. They always keep you active, and that's because it's never too easy, and it's not hard enough. It's not so hard so that your brain just immediately shuts down. It's something that you actually have a chance at. I just want to make sure that my microphone is recording. And a good measure, let's say, was to, for me, keep track of every single exam that I passed, every single research paper that I submitted and the respective grades afterward. And every semester, like trimester kind of grade that I was essentially given. So I would have like a Notion template where I would have every single subject and then their grade right beside it. And it literally felt like a game because it was a percentage bar, everything summed up, and it was an average. That was my rank. That was my prestige per se. And when you start setting goals like that, when you start challenging yourself like that, you immediately just get hooked. It becomes really addicting. And for some reason, I tried proposing this to friends of mine that actually played games a lot, and they never had the willpower to really apply it for themselves. The thing is, this won't apply willpower. This won't really need willpower. As long as you start small and then you progress through, it will literally become addicting. It will literally be just like playing a video game because that's what it felt like for me. And the last point that I want to make is to give yourself a purpose. It's not like you don't want to just get good grades because you just want to get good grades. You don't, that doesn't really happen. There needs to be a why. And for me, and for me, and for me, for example, it was like I want to get good grades because of the benefits that I reaped, right? Um, I exercised, I actually studied how to study, and that leveraged me a lot of future power. It cultivated me a lot of resilience so that I could perform better in college and in university. And I think for some people, it can be anything like making their parents proud, uh, having a better salary, and those are all valid. And honestly, as long as it gives you purpose, as long as it gives you a reason to be driven and go forward with your own life, then I think you're fine and everything will follow. Anyway, I hope you guys liked the mustache today. I decided to change up a little bit. And let me know if this style of video is actually good because I'm actually reconsidering a lot of stuff right now. I'm cooking some stuff, but I need you to please give me some time, okay? Anyway, catch you guys later. Mwah.